Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream. How's everybody doing out there in listener land? You guys staying awesome? Hope so. Oh, we got a couple people watching. Hi, Keeverdam. Hi, Buster. Hi, Useless. How you doing? Hey, Bubba Hotep. How's it going, man? Hey, Evolved. Hey, TOS. Tired? What? Hey, Peter. All right. Well, I wanted to do a stream about the D&D stuff that they're doing, the changes they're making. But there's a handful of articles out about this and some errata that was released, so I figured we'll go over it. Look at the articles. Some of them are probably going to repeat themselves. I haven't read all of these. And the errata, which I glanced at earlier, cat I'm looking after is just hiding under a bed for the past several hours. It's very scared of people. Just give it time. Once it realizes you're feeding it, it will like you more. Hey, Check, how's it going, man? Yep, it's 2:15 already. It's technically 2:16. 17. Oh no, time keeps passing. Yeah, it creeps up on you when you're not looking. Once you start doing something, time just evaporates, but when you're bored, it drags. So yeah, I haven't gone through all of this stuff, and I thought, well, why not do it on stream, right? So we can all share the misery together. That I really just wanted to complain a lot. So let's get into this. Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe. If you feel like donating, the link is at the top of your chat. I will also drop it in to the chat now, or you can get it from the description. My stepdad's friend had a stroke, so he took his cat. Holy shit! I hope he's okay. Already tried to give some treats, but doesn't eat them. Just gotta wait. Yeah, it'll come around eventually. It's just gotta get used to you. Bring back Thaco. Damn right, Shroom. Damn right. The second ed D&D was so much fun, and now it's just a bunch of nonsense. And it is getting so much stupider every day, it seems like. I don't know how these people manage to find these many problems, because some of the stuff I've been finding is ridiculous. Paralyzed on the left side, that sucks. Tech 0. Thaco was 2-hit armor class 0. It's the formula you use to attack. Tech 0. All right. I did have some fun memes out of this. Well, it's not really a meme so much as just idiots. So we'll look at that too, because, dear God, these people are insane. All right, let's get into it. Soon as my computer works. What are you doing? Okay. So this has been making the rounds, and I wanted to do a little bit more of a dive into it than just listening to a couple of YouTubers talk about it. No offense to myself, I guess, but I'm glad you're all here. So let's take a look at PC Gamer. This is actually from 2020, from June, and this is kind of a lead-in to what we're talking about. D&D is trying to move away from racial stereotypes. They mean literal races, not ethnicities. But that's going to be conflated because people are stupid. It's getting rid of the concept of evil races and making changes to its racial ability scores. D&D fantasy races are often painted in broad strokes, ensuring that if you ever need a cunning villain, you can always grab a drow, or maybe an orc if you need a monstrous warrior with an anger problem. Wizards of the Coast says it's trying to put an end to that, however, in an attempt to make the tabletop game more inclusive. In a blog post published last week, the publisher outlined some of the changes that it's already made, as well as steps it's planning to take. D&D 5th Ed is easily the most accessible and inclusive edition of the game, but there's still loads of room for improvement. Well, they'd hate me because I usually like, all right, elves and humans only. Fuck all the rest of them. 2016's Curse of Strahd, for instance, contained the Vistani, a group made of Romani tropes. Those are gypsies for normal people. Hey, Stray 19. Hey, Jordan. How's it going, fellas? Hey, Cracked. Yeah, the link for the Indiegogo for TSR to fight WOTC is in the description as well. So feel free to support them if you want to give a middle finger to WOTC. And one of exacerbated negative stereotypes. Not really. WOTC has made changes to Curse of Strahd and is also planning to explore the Vistani further in 2 upcoming books with the assistance of a Romani consultant. Why don't you get a historian instead? Because a modern Romani consultant really isn't going to do you a whole lot of good. The more fantastical races aren't free from these issues either. WOTC acknowledges that the language often used to describe some races are painfully reminiscent of how real-world ethnic groups have been and continue to be denigrated. Hey, guess what? That's never going to end. There's never going to be an end to bigotry, ever. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. There will always be people that are like that. And if you find it painfully reminiscent of real-world ethnic groups, you're probably the racist, you weirdo. Eberron, Rising from the Last War and Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, both published last year, paint Drow and Orcs just as complex as other races. Why? What a waste of time. They're bad guy fodder. And apparently that's how they'll be represented going forward. Who cares? As well as changing how it approaches future books and the language they use, there will also be changes to your characters. Wizards of the Coast is planning to offer a way for players to customize their characters' origins. What we used to just take a sheet of paper and write your character's background. It wasn't that fucking hard. And make changes to their racial ability score. They're called modifiers. Races get different ability bonuses, like elves being especially dexterous, but won't be able to pick a different bonus that's better. But you'll be able to pick a better bonus that reflects your character. So your body positive elf that's in a little scooter from Walmart will be able to get rid of that dex bonus and get themselves a fat modifier. This option emphasizes that each person in the game is an individual with capabilities all their own. Okay. I'm probably going to get really mad during this, and I might rage quit at some point. As well as being less restrictive, it feels more in keeping with the 5th ed, which places storytelling above maths. A +1 modifier isn't what makes a character or a group of people interesting, but it doesn't hurt. When the option will be available hasn't been announced yet, but it's coming later this year. Actually, it would be another year. More importantly, but given less prominence in this post, WOTC says it's seeking new diverse talent to work on the game, and it's brought in new people who apparently reflect the beautiful diversity of D&D. They hired gnomes. That's my guess. They're all sound steps, so hopefully WOTC nails the follow-through. For a game fueled by imagination, D&D can be extremely stodgy at times. You play wrong. So it's good to see it lurching forward and shaking off some of its baggage. And look at this douchey picture he's got here. Ugh. Fraser Brown. Ugh. Conveniently located in his apartment. Oh boy, he's so witty. All right, so if you want to read this for future reference, this is from 2020, like I said. So we're going to get to the new stuff. Yeah, racial selection absolutely means nothing anymore. You're 100% right. Oh, hey, St. Fugi. Yeah, I'd like to pretend that I'm more entertaining than music, but I'm not. But I appreciate you showing up. So that's where we were last year. And now they've actually come out with errata and a few other nonsense things, but we'll look at the articles first. From Game Rant. Oops, wrong button. Stupid Jack. Wizards of the Coast trends following D&D lore changes. This is from the 18th, so a couple days ago. I was going to do this stream yesterday, and then I got lazy. We're tearing down a shed at my brother's house, and it is turning into a hell of a project. So I've just been kind of tired and lazy, and didn't want to do anything because that was wearing me out. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is heralded as one of the most streamlined and welcoming versions of the game to date. they've never played Basic. And yet it can still be intimidating to many players. There are many tips for playing Dungeons & Dragons with first-timers, and playing as a first-timer, perhaps the most important of which is to have fun. This is in the interest of fun and expanding what Dungeons & Dragons is that Wizards of the Coast is constantly adding to the game and trying to make it more expansive vision. However, the company recently has changed some established lore. Buckle in. The changes in question to the lore sections of races that are traditionally evil as a baseline, with some of them being explicitly so. These include Beholders, Mind Flayers, Drow, Gnolls, and Orcs. They're all cannon fodder. These are all creatures that you fight. You're not going to sit there and be like, oh, what was your childhood like, Mr. Beholder, when you're trying to not turn to stone. The changes mostly rewrite their inherent racial traits as the opinion of the fictional author of Volo's Guide to Monsters, and as being suggestions for role-playing rather than absolutes. Some of the D&D 5e expansion races are traditionally evil, and the move was made to cut them down to tropes that could be considered racist. All right, so this says removes problematic lore. I think that's an article we have pulled up here. Anonymous, Beholder constantly fears for its safety, is wary of any creature that isn't one of its minions, and is aggressive in dealing with perceived threats. It might react favorably toward creatures that humble themselves before it and present themselves as inferior, but is easily provoked to attack creatures that brag about their accomplishments, or claim to be mighty. Oh, I get it. They sounded too much like your average Twitter user. Yep. That's probably what really offended people. Also, Beholders usually just attacked us out of nowhere because we didn't see them right away because they're dicks. That's how you play against a Beholder. You just slaughter them right out. A barrage of arrows, preferably magical. Wizards of the Coast changes got the company trending on Twitter. However, certain players are not happy with to see the lore changed. This comes from many factors, one being the inclusion of evil race or civilization-wide traits in no way precludes individuals from being very distinct from their stereotype. It doesn't take a good homebrew campaign for a morally good mind flayer to exist. Why would you want to? What's the point in that? You're there to fight monsters. That's the game. It was based off of a miniatures combat game called Chainmail. You're not there to make friends with the mind flayers. Or for a drow to become a hero. Both of those are already established. Yeah, Dritz was a drow, but they have a group of good drows. I forget what the name of them is. They're a cult. The removal of mentions of slavery, well, that'll make the slave pits really boring. Typically an element of drow and other evil societies in D&D. That's what makes them evil, is another contributing factor to some responses. So what, they're saying slavery's good now? Vocal minority has argued that it should stay in the lore, despite the fact that it's a very real and terrible evil. Yeah, because that's how they're perceived as evil, is that they're slavers, and they go kidnap people to make them into slaves. Perhaps the biggest point of anger here is that in removing these tropes, WOTC is removing part of what drew players to these monsters and potential characters in the first place. It's a common misconception that D&D rules are absolute. It says right in the core books, the rules are not absolute. And there have never been hard and fast elements, but they were something solid to start from. Some people believe that removing the evil from these races doesn't make them worse, but it will make them less interesting. Yeah, it waters down the game. All right, so this is pretty tepid. They don't actually tell you much about the changes, just that Beholders are victims of bad parenting, I guess. They're looking for their dad that went out for cigarettes. I had a human mage, dwarven fighter, elven ranger, and a paladin. The mage was my primary until 1855. Dex 17, Constitution 8. Oof, that's a rough Constitution. Charisma 5. He had a bad leg. -5 for movement. Sounds like a nightmare to DMs. Every creature thing has to be a handcrafted backstory instead of just banking on present lore. Yep, that's the real part here, is that this is going to make an assload of work for your average DM just to have the players just up and kill it or ignore all that shit. Like, oh, I don't care about his fucking feelings. Do we have to call dwarves little people? Probably. Listen, phobes at this point, yeah, you're not wrong. Good one, Gorbag. It also waters down the Dritz books. Yeah, absolutely, but they don't care. Stop the orc to prison pipeline. This is, yeah. They don't like fun. I don't really understand that. All right, so jumping over to the next article, we're going to go back to PC Gamer, who gave us that first article from last year. And this is from the 18th. Dungeons and Dead Ends, how mixed messaging starts fantasy wars. Dungeons and Dragons is an institution that will soon enough be celebrating 50 years as indisputably one of the most influential and successful games ever created. Fact. Good job to Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax. Those decades have seen the game change constantly with various rule sets and permutations, spurring an endless back and forth among fans about when it's best or what represents the true D&D experience. The true D&D experience is the one you have at the game table. That's the true experience. It's going to be different for everybody. Some people will hate the game. Some people will love the game. Some people will love the game and hate their DM, and vice versa, etc. The answer on an individual level is, of course, whatever edition you prefer. Second. But changes have always been a part of D&D and is an important factor in why it's still such a vibrant and successful fantasy universe. Their current Dungeons & Dragons design team announced last year that it would be looking at some of the ideas baked into D&D's lore and essentially excising such material such as racial stereotypes. This was possibly prompted by 2016's Curse of Strahd campaign, which got criticism for the Vistani, a group built on Romani tropes that have been D&D since 1983's landmark Ravenloft module. Times have changed, and D&D publisher Wizards of the Coast subsequently addressed the controversy by revising parts of Curse of Strahd in 2020. Yeah, they actually came out with a big box set, too, which I have. I'm going to unbox that one of these days. Sage Advice is an occasional column by D&D principal rules designer Jeremy Crawford. We're going to look at that near the end here, in which he explains various changes and why the design team made them. A recent column called Book Updates attracted a lot of negative attention, with some folks upset that WOTC is scrubbing old lore and racial alignment for what they see as no good reason. We're going to look at all the errata that I have the tolerance for. So we'll do those at the end because I know some people are going to get bored by that. They're taking fun and fantasy out of the game. Absolutely. The Sun's virtual hero group lives it when I DM my old dungeons. Fairly quick moving storyline with plenty of group involvement. Same areas never play the same. Exactly. The group you have at the table determines how the game is really played because they determine what order they go into rooms or everything changes. Maybe one group sets off a trap, another one doesn't, etc., etc. So you can run the same module for 10 different groups and have 10 different adventures. And sometimes it gets pretty crazy and silly. Other times it's super serious and near death, This blow up has the above context of WOTC becoming increasingly wary about the historical aspects of D&D that folks in 2021 view quite differently. No, most of the people don't view it differently. You just have a bunch of loudmouth whiners on social media that you constantly pander to like assholes. A particularly fraught hotspot is the idea that races are inherently evil because of the implications this has for real-life racial stereotypes. For example, the idea that the black-skinned drow are inherently cruel and evil. I always thought they had more of a charcoal skin, but they are slavers, and they pretty much kill everybody on sight, or they can't enslave them. WOTC has previously done stuff like changing the way a race works mechanically. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything introduced custom lineages to character creation, allowing, for example, your dwarf to have a bonus to intelligence or charisma rather than the standard constitution. I don't think they understand that not everything has to be unique and special to that level, it's kind of dumb. The con bonus was mostly for combat related. Most of the bonuses are combat related. That's why they got rid of comeliness, because it didn't matter. But it's gingerly picking a path between its old school fan base and aspects of the older game that may turn off a new audience. This particular topic is one that gets fans at each other's throats because it's emblematic of the clash between more gatekeeping, keepery, that's not a word, elements of the fan base, and this shift toward a more inclusive approach. See how they worded that? More gatekeeping elements of the fan base and the shift toward a more sensitive and inclusive approach. See, if you're an old school fan, you're not inclusive. That's the implication here. Thing is, the real problem is that WOTC isn't necessarily doing what it's being accused of doing. Contrary to some reports and many rants, the studio really didn't remove a lot of lore. Monsters like Mind Flayers and Beholders lost a couple of paragraphs that made their personalities absolute. No, it's a guideline, you fucking halfwits, but it's pretty clear they're still meant to be evil. Because they are. They're monsters. Do you want to hug this fucking thing? No. Its giant predatory talons of doom in its mouth are a pretty big indicator that it's a predator and not a huggable bunny rabbit. Jesus. Along those lines, people got pissed that alignment was changed from suggested as evil to gone, which was done in order to make it consistent with recent books, and WOTC hasn't really approached alignment as an absolute since 3.5. Other complaints are, the reason alignments were important were for things like Ravenloft, where if you did evil things, you would start getting corrupted by the land, or for paladins who had to be good people effectively. And it was to keep younger people from going completely off the deep end, with the paladins slaughtering towns full of villagers in the name of righteousness or something, because that's their definition, because they're XP mills, not towns. And remember, this was a game really that appealed largely to teenage boys specifically. Other complaints are down to confusion. The post-context includes the idea that the D&D multiverse and upcoming new settings. So WotC's trying to make more distinctions about how Orcs in the Forgotten Realms, D&D's current default setting, act versus those in Greyhawk, the original default setting, Eberron, and so on. This is why Volo's Guide to Monsters Errata has a disclaimer that this book focuses on the Forgotten Realms. This doesn't mean WotC is going about the game about this in the right manner. The studio often receives criticism from fans, and arguably rightfully so, for its top-down we know best approach for resolving tensions like this. Yeah, they're very top-down. And so one issue here is that we're talking about books that are, in many cases, digital. WotC's literally going in and changing this stuff in digital books that players already own. I have seen that complaint online that if you own the digital player's handbook, it got changed whether you wanted it to or not. It's just misunderstood, yeah. Oh, I don't doubt that Bob Dole is spinning his grave almost as much as Gary Gygax. Oh, is Pete here? Hey, Pete. I think the fictional monsters were in MS-13 the way they defend them. Yeah, right? The spark of divinity. All right, for a younger audience, that may not seem like an issue, but traditional tabletop RPG communities may view this in utter horror. It's like WotC coming into your home and tearing pages out of your volumes. Yeah, this is some 1984 shit. The complaints about this seem legitimate, though also, rather sadly, this is now the way of the world, which is why I own physical medium. They can't come over to your house and tear pages out just yet. Which perhaps hints at a wider issue. Elements of the D&D community may overreact to things. Equally, WotC sometimes does a piss-poor job of explaining what it's up to. No, they just think you're all dumb and you have to fall in line. These changes should have been announced in a live stream or video addressing what the design team were doing and what they meant by it, with the opportunity for the audience to ask questions and request clarifications. Instead, WotC dropped a brief blog with links to 9 separate errata PDFs, a post that a few days later needed its own clarification. This is an own goal, okay? That's not a sentence. D&D undoubtedly has stuff in its history that's problematic. I don't think so. They have things that are of their time. And WOTC is right to want to address this in some way. They don't have to. No. They could just be like, look, it's an old product. Fuck off. My paladin's religion is very Muslim, so if they're heretic, they can either pay me money or they die. It's the DM's fault for trusting me. Yeah, always keep an eye on that. Oh, no, Jack put pizza in our hearts. Oh, okay, good. Yep. You think these fictional monsters were an MS-13? Oh, I already read that one, but it's still true. All my D&D books are physical copies, so when I look at the stock or at the stack, I become sad at how much money I've spent. Don't be sad about the money you've spent. Be glad that you have those so you can play with them, and that the value of the older stuff keeps going up because of dumb shit like this. The guy that taught me to play said that for bigger monsters, he let the battle go as long as the players were having fun fighting the big baddie. Then he would end it one way or another. Absolutely. When it starts becoming tedious, it's time to move on. Either have the monster escape or kill the party or whatever. Whatever's more hilarious for you. Respecting the game's history is not the same thing as preserving it in amber. Yeah, but they haven't done either one of those. But it feels like the company is going about it the most awkward way possible, perhaps symptomatic of its own internal struggles over the issue, and leaving its communities confused about exactly what's happening and why. Some battles are worth fighting, others leave you wondering why they started in the first place. That's not mutually exclusive. Some battles are worth fighting, even if you don't know why they started. Because this is fucking dumb. Yes, Jordan. That is exactly what I would do. They are all wearing MAGA hats. All right, let me get you the link for that one if you're interested. Bam. All right, then we'll leap over to Bounding into Comics for a different take. So, like I said before, some of this may be redundant information. Wizards of the Coast removes lore deemed problematic from Dungeons & Dragons. This is from the 16th also. In pursuit of their relatively recent asserted goal to make beloved tabletop RPG as welcoming and inclusive as possible, Wizards of the Coast has removed a plethora of supposedly problematic lore, specifically negative racial stereotypes of any kind, from a number of D&D guidebooks. Claims, what's this? Criticizes tabletop trend to push out players who do not follow modern trends. He's right. Absolutely. Remember that Ernie Gygax Jr. is like 60 years old now. All right, the massive removal of problematic lore was made public on December 13th, courtesy of D&D principal rules designer Jeremy Crawford's latest edition of Sage Advice, a regular column wherein he talks about the designs of the game rules and answers questions about them. Crawford revealed in his post that over the past year, several D&D books have been tweaked, including various adventure books as well as the official Dungeon Master's Guide, Player's Handbook, and Volo's Guide to Monsters. The errata is for Curse of Strahd, DMG, Player's Handbook, Storm King's Thunder, Sword Coast Adventure Guide, Tales of the Yawning Portal, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Tomb of Annihilation, and Volo's Guide for Monsters. We will look at all of those at the end. Crawford added, the changes in these PDFs, and those PDFs appear in recent printing of the affected books, but the changes will also appear in D&D and beyond and anywhere else these books are available digitally. So if you bought this recently, it's been altered. Curiously, however, the designer avoided providing any details himself, brief or likewise, or otherwise, regardless of the specific alterations that have been made to the game. When looking at the new errata PDF for Volo's Guide to Monsters, it shows changes. We'll find out. While Crawford did not reveal the specifics of many changes to many of the changes of player and or the D&D subreddit, took it upon themselves to meticulously research the updated Volo's Guide to Monster compared against the Wizards of the Coast previously published editions. In doing so, Greeny 3x3x3 X, I don't know, whatever, discovered that a staggering amount of text had been removed from the backgrounds of various species that exist within the world of D&D, most of which included some references to the concept of slavery. As noted by the Reddit user, the species affected are beholders, giants, gnolls, kobolds, orcs, and yuan tai. No, a full recap of the removed text would be too lengthy to condense into a single article. It can be read in full on his original Reddit post. Well, that's interesting and probably really boring for all of you, but let's just see if anybody bothered to archive that. They did. Fantastic. Might have to look at that if we have extra time. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Andrew. Suspend the old book prices going to go up. I smell a business venture. Yeah, if you've got the old books and you were thinking of unloading them, yeah, it's a good time. This sounds like bullshit. Yeah. I'm having a good day, man. I hope you're doing well over there in Sheffield. Yeah, happy holidays to you too, man. Yeah, Gorbag, I've got a copy of that old Deities and Demigods with the Cthulhu Mythos. I picked it up at a local used bookstore for $20. I had to use my last $20 to get it. This was like 5 years ago, so I don't know what they're worth now, but they were going for a pretty decent amount. Oh, hi, Ellen. Well, Jack, it is the way of the samurai. Yeah, well, you know how it goes. All right, as the blah blah blah. Remove text of which the below examples are merely excerpts include a description of the beholder, presumably based on the fact that each individual members of the species thinks it is the epitome of its race, and therefore all other beholders are inferior to it. Yeah, they're arrogant. The removed portion begins, a beholder constantly fears for its safety, is wary of any creature that isn't one of its minions, and is aggressive in dealing with perceived threats. It might react favorably toward creatures that humble themselves before it and present themselves as inferiors, but is easily provoked to attack creatures that brag about their accomplishments or claim to be mighty. It continues, such creatures can be seen as threats or fools and are dealt with mercilessly. Each beholder thinks it's the epitome of its race, and therefore all other beholders are inferior to it, even though at the same time it considers other beholders to be its greatest rivals. A beholder might be willing to cooperate with adventurers who have news about another beholder's lair or activities, and might be non-hostile toward adventurers who praise it for being a perfect example of a beholder. An explanation of Orcs' societal hierarchies and customs, which include mentions of enslavement, subjugation, and the species' inherent bloodlust, was also removed, according to the Reddit user. You know what's never talked about with the Orcs, especially because half-orcs are player characters, is how they got those half-orcs. Realistically, any town would drown a half-orc in a bucket because it's the product of rape. They don't talk about that one very much. Hey, Cougar Knife. The last time I looked, people were asking over $1,500 for said D&D books I have on eBay. Holy shit, dude. Well, if you need a car down payment, I think you're good to go. It begins with the culturally ingrained tendency to bow before superior strength. Orcs can be subjugated by a powerful and charismatic individual. Evil human spellcasters and rulers in particular have a penchant for enslaving or deceiving orcs into service. Yeah. A leader backed by a great military force can swoop down upon a tribe, kill its leaders, and cow the rest of the orcs into submission until they get more orcs. Yeah. Another portion of this section previously read, most orcs have been indoctrinated into a life of destruction and slaughter. Yeah, they're a war species. But unlike creatures who are by their very nature are evil, such as gnolls, it's possible that an orc, if raised outside its culture, could develop a limited capacity for empathy, love, and compassion. Orcs are supposed to be kind of dumb, and they're technically not quite as evolved as humans. They're very much like Neanderthals, so that's more accurate than saying that orcs are, on the same level as humans, which is what they seem to be making them into. No matter how domesticated an orc might seem, its bloodlust flows just beneath the surface. Yeah, they're like the Klingons of fantasy, except with less respectable and with crappier tech. With its instinctive love of battle and its desire to prove its strength, an orc trying to live within the confines of civilization is faced with a difficult task. Lengthy entry. What the hell? Lengthy entry on the Yuan-Ti, which expounded on their tendency to keep slaves and noted that more sophisticated members of the species were referred to as purebloods, was also removed. Well, that's in Harry Potter too, so you're fine. Be quiet. I'll feed you later. It began abominations and Malicens rarely communicate directly with slaves except in emergencies such as giving battle orders. At other times, slaves are expected to be constantly aware of the master's mood, anticipate the master's needs, and recognize subtle gestures of hands, head, and tail to indicate commands. Only purebloods, which walk among humanoids and therefore have to learn how to speak to them civilly, practice interacting with the meat creatures. Much of their training involves suppressing their innate annoyance at having to speak to lesser beings as though they were equals, or being obligated to kowtow to a humanoid ruler as if the pureblood were merely an advisor. Pureblood spies feel a sort of aloof contempt toward meat creatures, but they can affect a pleasant tone and speak to such creatures with a silver tongue that disguise their true feelings, the section previously detailed. That's how the culture is. What's your point? These changes come a little over a year afterwards as the Coast issued a new set of errata rulings that similarly erased any and all descriptions of the orc and kobold species' negative racial traits. As of writing, Wizards of the Coast has not publicly commented on these edits, nor that they provided any sort of explanation for the specific lore removal. So, yeah, it looks like they're trying to do this on the sly, and everybody caught it. Like, they were trying to be coy and put an update on their website that they thought only the blessed and chosen would find. Oh, hey, Adabisi. Thanks. Gonna try to sleep. Have a good one, Gorebag. No, nowadays, notice him actually. Hey, Camel, how you doing? Sounds like a shitty Will Smith Netflix movie. Oh, that Bright. I never watched that. Heard it was good, but saying it sucks, I'd probably agree with you. Yeah, Cougar Knife. If you say black is, yeah, they're the racists for this. So yeah, it looks like they changed a lot more than they kind of let on originally. So let's jump over to when was this? When did this one come out? Damn it! I wish people would put fucking dates on their articles. This one comes from Wargamer. I don't know if you can hear the cat. I apologize. He wants something. I don't know what. I'm not letting him in right now. Head of D&D responds to alignment changes and backlash. Following the release of a raft of D&D errata documents earlier this week, which outlined several changes to the game's implementation of alignment and racial traits, WOTC executive producer and head of D&D Ray Winninger has released an update clarifying the corrections and further reveal Wizard's stance on some of the problematic passages found in D&D 5e source books. Winninger, whatever his name is, his update largely explains Wizard's reasoning behind the changes, which include the removal of alignments from playable races and the redaction of lore descriptions that homogenize the psychological conditions and moral leanings of entire races within the game. Winninger says the changes were made to encourage the creativity of DMs and players, and many of his clarifications pertain to how the corrections enhance D&D's players' experience. No, it's pandering to a bunch of emotional crippled douchebags that see things that aren't there. and will always see things that aren't there. In discussing the changes of alignment, Winginger explains that suggested alignments were removed from playable races in an effort to encourage novel player characters. Bullshit. It will save them a lot of money on ink, though. Since every player character is a unique individual, we no longer... No, are they really? We no longer feel that such guidance is useful or appropriate, he says in the update. Whether or not most halflings are lawful good has no bearing on your halfling and who you want to be. No. Who you want the character to be. That's the problem right there. Is a lot of the players can't seem to separate the character from themselves. After all, the most memorable and interesting characters often explicitly subvert expectations and stereotypes. Maybe, but you don't have to beat that over the head of somebody. They can do that on their own. Hey, Dungeon Master, do you mind if I play a kobold and not make him evil? Oh yeah, cool. Go ahead. Use the supplement book. Make the rules for it. Use the humanoids brown book, whatever. Similarly, when clarifying the removal of several creatures' personality descriptions, this update explains the redactions are meant to encourage DMs to populate their campaign with unique creatures that are not beholden to a stock personality. I don't have that kind of time. Fuck off. Get a job. These paragraphs stood in conflict with that advice, he said, of the removed content. We didn't alter the essential natures of these creatures or how they fit into our settings at all. Sure you didn't. Mind flayers still devour the brains of humanoids, and yes, that means they tend to be evil. Finally, on the topic of D&D orcs, which have long been criticized for drawing harmful African stereotypes, long been criticized. I never heard about that until 2 years ago? Fuck right off with that shit. And essentializing characters' personalities to their race. Winginger also says certain passages were removed and a disclaimer added to Volo's Guide to Everything in an effort to promote the multitude of worlds within the D&D universe, which often portray the same creatures in differing ways. Since the nature of creatures and cultures vary from world to world, we're being extra careful about making the authoritative statement about such things without providing appropriate context. We had to spell it out for the dum-dums, he says. If we're discussing orcs, for instance, it's important to note which orcs we're talking about. The orcs of Greyhawk are quite different from the orcs you'll find in Eberron. That's probably true, but again, that's up to the players and the DM. However, Winginger stopped short of saying that the alterations were made to remove elements of D&D that evoke harmful real-world stereotypes or avoid the pernicious implications that come with conflating characters' cultural attributes and psychological conditions. Throughout the update, he couches the errata in terms of enhancing players' experience rather than addressing the racial prejudices that many of D&D fantasy races have been based on since its inception nearly 50 years ago. We can't just have bad guys anymore. No, we have to have all this complex bullshit that doesn't matter. And make the DMs do way more work. What a fucking waste of time. Do you think there's a briar patch over here? I think there is. Further, Winginger's update continues the D&D tradition of homogenizing entire races in which the majority or entirety of a race's population are described as possessing particular learned behaviors. Winginger says that it's wrong, for example, to say that most halflings are lawful good on the grounds that Athelstan halflings, a race from the Dark Sun campaign setting, are more likely not. Oh my god, these people are so fucking dumb. The core rulebook is meant to give you a guideline for the game. The settings redefine that to more specific things. The settings and the core books are different things because the settings have specific races for a specific location, whereas the core rulebook is designed to give you the basis to work from to create your own setting and campaign. Remember, Dark Sun did not always exist. That was a product that came much, much later. The only things you could really point to and say these are like original canon would be like Greyhawk and Blackmoor. So this is stupid. Yeah, the Athelstan halflings are much different because they're part of the Dark Sun campaign not the generic stock standard cut and paste ones from the player's handbook or the DMG or the monstrous manual. That's fucking dumb. How are people this fucking stupid they can't suss this out on their own? Similarly, he continues to describe non-playable races as uniform groups, particularly emphasizing that the D&D team has decided that beholders and mind flayers are no longer evil. So you're just dancing on the fence now. Recent years have seen Wizards of the Coast make greater moves to alter D&D representation of race and racial attributes. Last year, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything introduced expanded character creation rules that offered players the choice to not have their character's race determine their in-game capabilities and traits. Now, what a waste of time. All these extra supplements are a pain in the ass. Everybody has to be familiar with them in order for that to work. So if one player has it, the DM doesn't, he's not going to know what those changes are able to do and how that's going to affect the campaign. You still have to have characters that fit into the campaign setting. It's fucking irritating. There are settings where certain creatures do not exist. Like, for instance, in Ravenloft, there are very few orcs running around. You tend to run into more undead. There's one setting that has 0 orcs other than Dark Sun. So this is annoying. Larger overhauls may be coming in the next few years, too, as Wizards launching the next evolution of D&D in 2024 with a wave of revised core rulebooks. And I bet it'll have battle poetry in it. So I think a lot of this is really, really fucking dumb. And that did not really explain anything. Where'd my mouse go? Hey, Donald, how you doing, man? So, yeah, that article kind of pissed me off because they're trying to talk out of both sides of their mouth now that they're in trouble. All right. So let's go over to comicbook.com and see what they had to say. This article is from the 17th. Hey, Ducky. How's it going? Dungeons & Dragons explains recent book updates after online furor. Did D&D really purge their books of problematic lore? Of course not, but Wizards of the Coast still had to release an explanation as to why it made several minor changes to several of its rulebooks. The online D&D communities exploded this week when Wizards of the Coast released several errata documents, making several changes to previously published books. Plural. You can't have several changes to previously published book. That sentence doesn't make... Okay. Some of these changes were mechanical in nature, while others removed bits of inadvertently insensitive material from past books, such as suggesting that villains could be given a stutter as a defining characteristic. Oh my god, that's so ableist. Fucking dumb. What a waste of time. However, some people... They're paying people to do this shit, remember? Somebody had to go in and write this errata. Like, hey, find some problematic stuff and cut it out. However, some players were dismayed to learn that Wizards of the Coast had pared down bits of lore from Volo's Guide to Monsters, a book that provided an in-depth look at popular monsters like Beholders, Mind Flayers, and Yuan-Ti. The flavor text removed from these books were role-playing suggestions that certain creatures uniformly behaved a certain way, such as noting gnolls have little variation in personality and outlook. Yeah, they're pack animals. Or that a kobold acknowledges its weakness in the face of a hostile world. Because they're small and vulnerable and die very easily, usually on the end of a longsword. While many recognize that these changes were being made to avoid dealing in absolutes, that did stop some fans from claiming that D&D was purging their lore or sanitizing it of anything problematic. Coupled with the removal of racial alignments in the errata, some players claim that there was an attempt to homogenize the game or water down aspects of the game so as not to offend. However, the actual explanation has little to do with removing problematic content and more with recognizing that D&D's canon exists in a multiverse with an array of different cultures. This sounds like it's the tagline excuse from the press release. D&D Studio, Winger, yeah, just looked at that. Multitude of Worlds, Orcs, yeah. Couple of paragraphs, Mind Flayers. No actual lore changes were made with the most errata. Did you translate this through Google? But the documents did serve to bring the books more in line with the design team's current philosophy. If there's one thing the recent controversy did seem to reveal, it's that the D&D team needs to release more lore to match their stated goals to show a variety of cultures, personalities, and behaviors. It's fine to say that all orcs don't act in a certain way, but it's much better to show that by presenting nuanced cultures and backgrounds that existed within the scope of D&D's many worlds. Presenting different cultures would also serve to make D&D's various races, which recently received updated rules that removed mechanical benefits tied to universal cultural assumptions or physical characteristics, maybe? Because if you look at it, the majority of Asians are shorter than the majority of Europeans. So that would be a distinct, notable difference. And they're broad sweeping generalities, not hard and fast. Fucking idiots. Feel more unique by comparison. No, more lore is just going to get them in more trouble with the woke crowd because they'll find something to be bitching about. In the meantime, D&D fans can rest easy knowing that mind flayers still want to eat their player characters' brains. All right, that was a pretty tepid assessment of this. Hey, Assassin, how you doing, man? I appreciate it. Wait, are we getting null racist? Maybe. They are like jackals. So they are a pack animal. There's different lore for a creature in a setting they had to point out the setting in those books, so BS to try and avoid a backlash. Yep. Oh, have a good one, Kyle. Remember that not to be bigoted against giant floating eyeball monsters. Yeah, with big sharp fangs that claw and gnash. We are about at that time of the night where I have to do my shilling. So please hit the like button. Consider subscribing. Share the video on your social media. And if you'd like to support me, there's the link to do so on the Streamlabs, which accepts PayPal. And yeah, you can also donate after the show ends using the same links. It's in the description and at the top of your chat as well. Gnomes are classified as vermin due to how they rapidly produce and get into everything. I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm pretty sure. All right, so we'll take a look at this Reddit post, and then we'll get into the sage advice thing that kicked this whole thing off, and the errata. I need to drink water first. All right, so here's the D&D Reddit. This is archived for our convenience. All right, this is the stuff that was removed from the Volo's guide. And that is a lot of ink. Oh, holy crap. Okay, so they're going to save a lot of money on ink. We read the Beholder one. Giants. Fire giants on many occasions have ransomed captives back to their families or communities. Oh, maybe they are related to MS-13. That was a joke earlier. Once the giants determined that a slave had no particular talent they needed, and others were willing to pay for its return. Affluent prisoners such as merchants and aristocrats are the most likely to win this sort of reprieve, for obvious reasons. Yeah, they're rich, or at least have money. The ransom demand rarely involves baubles such as gold or gems. Fire giants prefer payment in mithril, adamantine, or different slaves. One with more useful talents or stronger backs. Okay. Yeah, this is the slavery stuff. Collectively an elemental force driven by a demon lord to spread death and destruction. Yeah, so the only real opportunity for interaction with gnolls is provided by the cultists that sometimes accompany a warband. This humanoid rabble might have information the characters need, or could be former friends corrupted to the worship of what's his face. I can't pronounce that. To portray a gnoll that is more intelligent or social than usual, you can give it characteristics similar to cultists. Yeah, they're not the most individualistic. They're not big thinkers, and they look like hyenas. So what? So what? Kobolds. It's known for its puny. It's known as puny. Bigger creatures will exploit that. It'll probably die at a young age, and its life will be full of toil. Yeah, they're kobolds. It's a rough life. I played a kobold thief once. It was a lot of fun. Although this outlook seems bleak, a kobold finds satisfaction in its work, the survival of its tribe, and the knowledge that it shares a heritage with the mightiest of dragons. The kobold isn't clever, but it isn't as stupid as an orc. Someone can fool a kobold with smooth words or quick wit, but when a kobold figures out it's been tricked, it remembers the affront. If it gets the opportunity to do so, it will retaliate against that person somehow, even if it's merely a petty way. The kobold doesn't like being cornered or alone. It wants to know as a safe path for escape, or at least an ally nearby to improve its chances. The kobold without either of these options will be nervous, its behavior altering between meek silence and hysteria. So, it sounds like it's been damaged through a lifetime of awfulness. Oh, what we're shaming former slaves now? Is that what's happening here? Mind flayers, inhuman monsters. Oh dear God, how can you say that? Typically exist as part of a collective colony. I thought you guys liked collectivity. Illithids aren't drones to an elder brain. Each has a brilliant mind, personality, and motivation of its own. They've done entire modules around mind flayers, like Thoughts of Darkness. Orcs. Oh, they cut a lot of orc stuff out. The lore of humans depicts orcs as rambunctious fiends, intent on coupling with other humanoids to spread their seed far and wide. Yeah, they're rapists. In truth, orcs mate with non-orcs only when they think such a match will strengthen the tribe, or when they're pillaging a village. When orcs encounter humans who match them in prowess and ferocity, they sometimes strike an alliance that is sealed by mingling the bloodlines of the two groups. Ew. A half-orc in an orc tribe is often just as strong as a full-blooded orc and also displays superior cunning. Thus, half-orcs are capable of gaining status in the tribe more quickly than their fellows. It is unusual for a half-orc to rise to the leadership of a tribe. But in human colonies, those get drowned in a bucket because they're freaks of nature. Hey, Dark Resurrect. Oh, sorry, man. PTSD shaming, exactly. I'm playing since the early 70s and you're making me cry with laughter. Yeah, dude, this really hurt me. Knowles or Tim Pool? No, Tim. I don't think there's any bald Knowles. That wear little beanie hats, but it's a possibility. I rule nothing out. It would explain a few things. So they cut out all their, by their very nature, their evil, such as Knowles. They cut all that out, and how orcs gain things by subjugating each other, and how they get subjugated by human wizards, which is true. So yeah, being an orc kind of sucks, but they live for the battle. They're a warrior culture. I don't understand why that's fucking complicated. Remember, orcs are coded as black people, says the racist. Yeah, I don't know how they got that. Because there are a lot of primitive peoples out there of every skin tone that you could make this comparison to. The UNT, oh god, they cut a lot of this out too. Motionless yet feel completely superior to humanoids. Yeah, we read some of this. The ritual that produced the first Yanti required the human subjects to butcher and eat their human slaves and prisoners. This act of cannibalism had several ramifications. It broke a long-standing taboo among civilized humanoids and set the Yanti apart from other civilizations as creatures not beholden to moral values. A lot of times when we'd play, the orcs would have feasting on adventurers they killed and soldiers, that sort of thing, because they're evil monsters. That's how they get a reputation for being evil, is they're cannibals and murderers and do bad things to people's no-nos. And emulated the dispassionate viewpoint of the reptilian mind, a trait the Yanni admired. Today, cannibalism is practiced by the most fervent of the Yanti cultists, including those who aspire to transform themselves. In cities, it actively persists a form of human sacrifice, not strictly cannibalism anymore, but still serving as a repudiation of a taboo against eating their own kind. They would kill and eat a lesser without a second thought, and a group of them would choose the weakest among them to be killed and eaten. Under normal circumstances, however, they bury and cremate their dead rather than eating them, but a great hero or someone of status might be ritually consumed as a form of tribute. You know, that sort of thing actually happened with, like, the Mayans would do human sacrifice, cutting people's hearts out and shit like that. And there have been plenty of cannibal societies throughout the world, including Papua New Guinea. So, and I believe the Mohawk Indians and a couple of the tribes in Africa were headhunters and cannibals. So that's not like that's unprecedented in human history. So that's dumb. TLDR, WOTC's removing a lot of lore they found problematic, and I've collected it here as I think it would be sad to lose, especially all that Yuan-Ti lore, as I love the snacks. Let's see what the comments are. Wait, what is happening? New errata came out, which basically patch notes for D&D, which said above the lore will be removed from the book. It means new printings won't have these paragraphs, and all digital copies, D&D and beyond, will have them removed shortly. Does this mean it's no longer canon, or you just can't buy it with Volos? They're removing it from books and rewriting the lore as a whole, so according to the official 5e, it's no longer canon. What you hold at your table is up to you, though my friends and I think the errata is dumb and are ignoring it. Good for you. We don't have all the books, but we have some of the some and PDFs don't change. Well, I hope you don't. You should back that up on a flash drive or something, because if your computer crashes, you're gonna be re-downloading the new version. Rewriting, please. They won't actually pay anyone to do that. You'll get less content in your books and you'll like it. That sounds accurate. I guess I should clarify there's no way they're rewriting the lore in the books, zero chance. However, for 6e, they're likely to change the lore. They've already talked about making 6e, and now they're changing character things. I expect a lore overhaul next edition. Time to switch to 3.5, in my opinion. Way ahead of you, already regressed into the hellscape of OSR. Yeah, 3.5 books still go for quite a bit. Sounds pretty great. I looked at older systems and none of my friends really wanted to go back, but I managed to get them on 3.5. Should have gone back to 2nd. It's better. It's definitely a nice middle ground between autism in a good way of D&D and the freedom of 5e. That's what it seemed like anyway. Never had the pleasure of playing a 3.5 game, just read the rules. We're not going to read about 3.5. The thought of any of this is canon in D&D is kind of hilarious. The content in the books is nothing but a bunch of suggestions. You can take it, leave it, or modify it. That's what the entire game is about. Sure, I can't disagree, but they built lore and worlds for people to use to base their campaigns' characters off of. Or perhaps you see a monster you want to use or aren't sure how to implement it. It gives you an idea. Regardless, it doesn't matter to you. That's your deal. I enjoy the world they built, the suggestions, the lore they give to me. What this person... the thought that any kind of canon is hilarious. Some people, especially older people, because a lot of the older people that play have jobs. They're these things you go to earn money, and they don't have time to sit down and write an entire campaign setting of 200 pages of detailing. So they just use what the books give them, and it saves them a lot of time. No longer canon to 5e. I guess the Ithlids is the new Baldur's Gate game. Are the good guys? Good to know. That sucks. Your words also normalize an outsider's judgmental perspective of the life cycle. Remember, Illithids, while fictional, might somehow still read such comments and be hurt by casting their natural reproductive process as evil or predatory. Fictional beings that consume brain tissue of living sentient creatures and implement their offspring into a host body that is consumed by the experience aren't necessarily worse than the rest of us. They're just different. Please remember, brain-eating, parasitic, extra-dimensional, fictional entities are people too. Thank you. All cultures are beautiful. Poe's law is dead. It's truly impossible to read something like this and tell if someone is serious or not. Individual mind flayers can be evil. It's just not about saying all of them are evil, I guess. So, yeah, even some of these guys are kind of confused. The only thing removed is mind flayers are inhuman monsters that typically persist as a part of a collective mind, colony mind. Laughs and homebrew and 2E canon. Rock on. Still canon in my games. I can't swallow buying books, but having what I purchased completely changed or removed lore is absolute garbage. Yep. They'd have been better off just leaving the changes for 6 ed. That's why I buy print and acquire totes legit PDFs for storing on my hard drive's tablet. Yeah, me too. Changing rules is fine. Removing a bunch of digital content I bought feels like stealing from me. Absolutely it is. Why would they even change? They're putting on a performance to show how sensitive they are. People don't like crazy acting monsters because it's ableist and paints peoples with IRL mental issues in a bad light. They don't like beholders, mind flayers, and drow going around and thinking they are the master race. It's reasons like that we are losing a lot of lore text, but won't be getting nearly as much in the future. It'll be a homogenized and bare-boned. I don't know how you are really creative and have a lot of extra time on your hands, because if you want a worthwhile game, you're going to need to make it yourself now. No one asked for this. It's them showboating, virtue signaling, and otherwise covering their asses in case someone does 5 to 10 years from now. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. All right, I'll give this link. Yeah, when they get into your brain, they drop parasites in there that consumes your brain, sort of like what the xenomorphs do in Alien. Check my money. Oh, thank you, Dark Resurrect. So the UNT is some of the best warlocks due to their willingness to do anything for status and power, or having their personalities stripped from them. Fuck that. I love my UNT noble. Yeah, dude, that's exactly what they're doing, is they're stripping it down and making it worse. I think deep down I'm an officer of the Galactic Empire because I saw the streams happening. My immediate thought was, why was I not informed of this? Nice. That's true. You might be. I don't know. I'm not here to judge you. But yeah, some of the comments are pretty spot on, I think. A lot of people are pretty annoyed by this. So let's look at what the Sage Advice actually said, and then we'll look at the actual errata. So this was the Sage Advice that was posted on the 13th. Sage Advice is a series of articles. It's blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares. D&D books occasionally receive corrections and other updates to their rules and story. This Sage Advice installment presents updates to several books. I then answer a handful of rules questions, focusing on queries related to Fizban's Treasury of Dragons and Strixhaven, a curriculum of chaos, or as we called it, knockoff Harry Potter. Errata PDFs. There's a link to all the PDFs. The changes in those PDFs appear in recent printings of the affected books, but the changes will also appear on D&D Beyond and elsewhere. The books are available digitally. This is recent printings of the affected books. So did they change this to the physical form too? I'm curious. Drow. A notable change in the errata docs above is revised text for the Drow in the player's handbook. The new text, we'll read it in a minute. The new text replaces the description that confused the cultures of Menzoberranzan, a city in the grip of Lolth's cult in the Forgotten Realms, with the Drow themselves. The new text more accurately describes the place of the Drow in the D&D multiverse and correctly situates them among other branches of the Elf family. each of which was shaped by an environment. In the earliest days of the multiverse, forest, wood elves, places of ancient magic on the material plane, high elves, oceans, sea elves, the Feywild, Eladrin, the Shadowfell, Shadar Kai, and the Underdark Drow. Drow are united by an ancestral connection to the Underdark, not by worship of Lolth, a god some of them have never heard of. Rules questions. Oh, this is a short column. Recent books include monster stat blocks like the Dragon Blessed in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons and the Silver Quill Apprentice in Strixhaven Curriculum Chaos that contain actions designated as spell attacks rather than weapon attacks. What was the motivation for adding this type of action to the game? This type of action isn't new. Monsters have had spell attacks since the Monster Manual 2014. See the Lich's Paralyzing Touch action and the Cambion's Fire Ray action for other examples of actions that are spell attacks, as discussed in the introduction of the Monster Manual, page 10. Monster's attack action is designed as either a weapon attack or a spell attack. Is a spell attack a spell? No, the game has two types of attacks, weapon attacks and spell attacks. So a spell attack is a type of attack, not a type of spell. Sometimes a spell attack is part of a spell, as in Firebolt spell, but other times a spell attack occurs outside of a spell, as in Spectre's Life Drain attack in Monster Manual. Oh god, that... When a monster casts a spell without using spell slots, how do I know the spell's level? Spell's level is specified in the spell description. For example, the description of Fireball says it's a 3rd level spell. If you cast spells using spell slots, you get additional options of temporarily increasing a spell's level by expanding a spell lot of a higher level to cast a spell. Can a Silvery Barb spell in Strixhaven affect legendary resistance? No, when a creature uses legendary resistance, the creature turns a failed saving throw into a success, regardless of the number rolled on the d20. Well, then why even bother rolling a dice? Forcing that creature to re-roll the d20 afterwards doesn't change the fact that the spell succeeded as a result of legendary resistance. No amount of re-rolling will undo that success. It's pointless to roll then. So that's actually pretty much a nothing column. Very, very tepid. I remember fun as well, Dark Resurrect. It was a long time ago. The gods are real beings that exert control and influence over the Underdark. What the hell are these morons on about again? Well, a lot of them don't seem to know their own lore. And they also don't seem to really care about it. You know, they're going all Last Jedi. So let's pull up some of these PDFs. There's a link. I dropped the article in there. It's got links to all of these. And I have to open these in a separate browser, so just kind of bear with me a little bit. I got to move all these tabs over. There's like 9 of them. They're varying lengths, too. Some of them are really, really short. And a lot of them seem to be a bunch of nothings, but some of them are much more important. I think what they're doing here is pretty horrific because it's setting the stage for a really boring game. And that's probably why they're so worried about TSR coming back. Because they know their game is watered down and less fun now. And they're embarrassed and ashamed of what they've done. These are people I would put in a room of perpetual dark with no everlasting torches, make them roll to see if they recognize their friends, 18 or higher, watch them kill themselves. Yeah. Well, you know, they don't seem to have very good adaptability. My Pathfinder campaign is a cannibalistic dragon. What does that make it? Does that make him black? Maybe Southeast Asian, Papua New Guinea area. I think they're the last real cannibals. So they're more the vintage style. All right, let's start with Curse of Strahd, where a lot of these changes really began. These are some new ones. They pissed me off. Yeah, I've done some really cruel things. Like they dropped a they made fantasy flashlights. For those of you that don't know, you cast continual light on a coin, and glue it at the bottom of a map case, and you have a fantasy flashlight. You get a little scroll case or a map case and do that. Well, they did that to a rock and dropped it down a bottomless pit, what they thought was a bottomless pit. And it got caught on the side of the thing, and they thought that it reached the bottom. So somebody was like, "Well, I got a ring of Featherfall. I can go down there and check it out." And he jumped, and he disappeared, and they never found him again. And one by one, I got every member of the party into that bottomless pit, where at the bottom was a black dragon just sleeping, and it was eating them one by one. It was a good time. Good times were had by me. What's wrong with Long Pig? You're not supposed to eat that. You ever thrown a false Hydra at them? Fucking fun. Yeah, I've never thrown a false Hydra at them, but I've thrown some really fucked up stuff at them. Did make it so that they thought they were going in to fight a dragon at a dragon's lair, but it was actually just infested with kobolds, and they were so pissed off by that because like there's just kobolds here. That sounds awesome. Also, screw you. Yeah, I was a dick. Sometimes I was just a complete asshole to them because they were being annoying, or that they didn't want to do the campaign, and they told me that. They're like, "No, we don't like the premise for this campaign. We're gonna do something else." So I was like, "All right," and they ended up at a mountain pass and got ambushed by frost giants, and I was like, "All right, make new characters." You don't have to do the campaign. If you don't like the campaign, just be like, "Can we play something else?" Instead of bitching constantly. All right, Curse of Strahd errata. These are corrections and clarifications for Curse of Strahd. Changes appear in recent printings of the book. So they are changing the physical books too. When updates added to this document, the version number increases. The word new appears before the latest changes. Introduction, plea for help, page 19. In the 6th paragraph of the box text, Gypsy has been changed to man. Okay. Vistani, page 26. The first 3 sentences of the section have been replaced with the following text. The Vistani, singular Vistana, are wanderers, travelers about in horse-drawn, barrel-topped wagons, which they built themselves. Compared to Barovians, they are flamboyant, dressing in bright colors and laughing often. No mention of kidnapping babies. Vistani, page 27. In the final paragraph of the section, the 3rd and 4th sentences have been replaced with the following text. The Vistani are quick to act when their lives or traditions are threatened and are merciless when they believe they must be. Oh, so they declared a jihad. I got it. All right, I'm with you. Let's see what you're laying down there, wizards. I got it. These are economic migrants with wagons of peace. Vistani bandits, page 32. The first sentence after the box text has been replaced with the following text. These Vistani servants of Strahd march through the Barovian wilderness, laughing and telling ghost stories. They're just jolly, having a good time, working for an evil vampire. Chapter 2, Vistani thugs. Oh, thugs? Oh, isn't that a code for black people I heard a few years ago? Neutral evil male and female humans is now neutral evil male and female human thugs. You changed it to a more racialized term in progressive circles? That's interesting. Gypsy's been changed to V. You ever throw Floofington at them? No, he's only 3. So he's fairly young still. How many dragons are at how good many dragons are at chess, except for the winged scorn. He burned half the countryside when he lost a game to a little shepherd boy. Damn shepherd boys and their shenanigans. Yeah, the thuggy, they'd go around India strangling people with their sashes. Victor's workroom. The cantrips, acid splash, and mending have been removed from Victor's spellbook. Why? That's pointless. Rigtovia's carnival wagon in this page 115. In the second paragraph after the box text, Hunt Evil Vistani, that's redundant, has been changed to Hunt Strahd's Vistani servants. Well, they work for an evil creature. I mean, that kind of makes them evil. The sentence that starts with the tiger recognizes has also been deleted. Kazmir's Hovel, page 121. The cantrip Ray of Frost has been removed from Kazmir's spellbook. Why? N9C Vistani Tent, page 121. In the paragraph immediately following the box text, Luvash is so drunk that he has disadvantage on his attack rolls and ability checks, has been replaced with the following text. Luvash is the older of the two and the brother whom the other Vistani fear the most. The fact that he's a raging drunk and gives him negatives is taken out? What a complete waste. That actually subtracted character trait from the guy. Appendix A, Haunted One. In the skill proficiencies subsection, you can now choose 2 options instead of 1. In the languages subsection, you can now choose 2 languages, one of which is exotic. Additionally, common clothes and 1 silver piece have been added to the list of the equipment subsection. That's pointless. Gothic trinkets, page 210. On the trinkets table, in the 67 to 68 entry, the word ferule has been changed to ferule with 2 R's. So that's just a spelling correction. Tree Blight in Appendix D. In the stat block, the Tree Blight's hit points are now 92. Okay. Esmeralda Diavere. The section called Esmeralda's Secrets is now Esmeralda's Prosthetic? Okay. Additionally, the final sentence, she has since adapted well to the prosthetic appendage. Okay, so she's got a prosthetic. Who fucking cares? Strahd von Zarovich, page 240. In the stat block, Unarmed Strike, Vampire form only, has been changed to Unarmed Strike, Vampire or Wolf form only. And in Unarmed Strike, Bludgeoning has been changed to Slashing. Additional Bite, Bat, or Vampire form has been changed to Bite. Yeah, okay, those changes make sense because he can bite in wolf form too, but not in mist form. So, all right, so some of these are stupid. Let's get rid of that one and look at DMG. Remember, these erratas are in that article I dropped last. Evil's an alignment in the game. It's not subjective. Apparently it is, because there are no evil people. There's just misunderstood people. We changed thugs to, those people, right? Just wasn't there a higher level adventure where the characters face lower level kobolds den and they laid enough traps and bottlenecks so they could deal with high level characters? Yes, there were games like that. A lot of the modules, you could get killed by innocuous stuff. A pit trap could poison you. Kobolds with poison spears. A knoll is actually fairly formidable, but you get 5 or 6 of them together and they can swarm people. Same with the kobolds, for that matter, or even evil halflings or dwarves. They can surround you and beat the crap out of you. I've had high level players get killed by really, really simple stuff that they just got overconfident in. Like, we used to put pit traps in and wait till player characters walk over them and somebody would fall in one inevitably, land on some spikes or something, do a little bit of damage, but then little monsters would come over and start throwing stuff down on them and just bludgeon them to death. Good times. Errata for the DMG. Chapter 1, the Calendar of Harptos. Shield meet takes place after midsummer, not midwinter. All right, minor correction. Chapter 2, Abyssal Corruption Table. The heading row of 8-9 is now Overwhelming Ambition. Chapter 3, Evaluating Encounter Difficulty. In the Compare XP step, the second sentence has been replaced with the following. The threshold that equals the adjustment XP value determines the encounter's difficulty. If there's no match, use the closest threshold that is the lower adjusted XP value. And if you can't figure out how to give your players XP, you're probably new to the game. Chapter 4, NPC Mannerism Table. Row 4 is now speaks in an unusually formal manner. What you just say is snobby. NPC Flaws and Secrets. Row 8 is now prone to sudden suspicion. Villains Methods Table. In Entry 14 table, Row 2 is now confiscating property. Was the civil asset forfeiture? Row 3 is now conspiracy. Row 4 is now espionage or spying. And row 5 is oppressive laws like gender. Resistance table. Row 18 is now hidden thieves den. Oh, residence table, my bad. Tavern table is now row 16, 17. Racer guild is now guild. Row 19 or 20 is now music venue. Wait, they changed race or guild is now guild. Well, you know what? Elves are snobbish dickbags that don't want to associate with humans. So maybe there's an elven-only bar. You thought about that? You thought about the role-playing opportunities there? Did you? No, you didn't. You selfish little dickbags. Sad. Crafting a magic item. Chapter 6. The first sentence under the crafting magic item table now reads, an item has a creation cost specified in the crafting magic items table. Half the cost for a consumable, such as a potion or scroll. Chapter 6, Attunement. First paragraph ends with a new sentence. If the prerequisite is to be a spellcaster, creature qualifies if it can cast at least one spell using its traits or features, not using magic. Oh, okay, that's fucking stupid. Magic weapons ends with, if a magic weapon is ammunition property, ammunition fired from it is now considered ammunition is considered magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. Okay. Then spells in the second sentence, lowest possible spell levels, now lowest possible spell and caster level. Amulet of Health, the last sentence now reads as follows. There's no effect on you if your constitution is 19 or higher without it. Bag of Tricks. New sentence. Creature vanishes at the next dawn or is reduced to 0 hit points. Alright, so these are dumb. Yeah, they just added a few things. Ring of the Ram in the second sentence. To attack is now to make a ranged spell attack against. There's a lot of this stuff's pretty stupid. Like poison, contact, and heal. This is pretty normal stuff. Normal errata. Creating a new race or sub-race. The third bullet has been removed. In the fifth bullet, the race's history and culture is now the race's history. Because fuck culture. They're all beautiful. Cultural alterations. This section has been removed. They removed that entire section. Example of race. Samar, the alignment section has been removed. Dive attack is now dive, and the damage transfer dark mantle is now cloaker. Mage furnishings. A roll of 73 produces a sextant, not a sexton. Well, I don't know what mages do in their free time. Maybe he's navigating the oceans. Utensils and personal items. Roll 89 or 90 produces a vase. That's a errata that you needed to have. Some traps could just permanently blind you. Oh yeah, absolutely. You leave my knife-ear waifu alone, Jack. I'm not judging you. Oh, thank you, Evolved Potato. Now I might be confused, but isn't the DM's job to abuse and torture their players psychologically so they're beaten down and just go along with the campaign without ruining it, or am I wrong? You're not entirely wrong. That's how some of us run our games, because we're there to have fun too. But it's supposed to be you're just kind of guiding the story. Hey, Brad, how you doing, man? But yeah, Evolved, that's how I end up doing it because it amuses me. I'm not even that big of a dick most of the time. Just don't piss me off. No good elves. Other than lousy stick eaters can go fuck themselves. Bunch of tree snobs is what they are. All right, so let's look at the player handbook errata. Weapons. The bolded item about ranged weapons. A weapon that has is now a melee weapon that has. Okay. Beyond first level, in the second sentence of the third paragraph, add the total is now add the total minimum of 1. What? Okay, whatever. Racial traits, the alignment section's been removed. Dwarf traits, the alignment section's been removed. Dwarven combat training, throwing hammer has been changed to light hammer. What's wrong with a throwing hammer? You throw it, don't you? A light hammer, it sounds like you're just doing a little, like you're getting a tack hammer. Elf traits, the alignment section's been removed. Dark Elf, Drow, page 24. The first 2 paragraphs have been replaced with the following. As a Drow, you are infused with the magic of the Underdark, an underground realm of wonders and horrors rarely seen on the surface above. Yeah, hook horrors don't just normally show up. Or Umber Hulks. You are at home in the shadows, and thanks to your innate magic, learn to conjure forth both light and darkness. Your kin tend to have stark white hair and grayish skin of many hues. See, they're not black. The cult of the god Lolth, queen of the spiders, has corrupted some of the oldest Drow cities, especially in the world of Orth and Toril. Eberron, Kryn, and other realms have escaped the cult's influence. Orth is Greyhawk, and Toril is Forgotten Realms. Kryn is Dragonlance. At least they have for now. Whenever the cult lurks, Drow heroes stand on the front lines of the war against it, seeking to sunder Lolth's web. Well, I doubt that highly. Drow magic, once per day, has been changed to when you finish a long rest. Oh, I cast that. I'm going to take a little nappy poo so I can use it again. When you finished a long rest. That's not vague. Once per day? That's once every 24 hours. I can understand that. Once you've had a long rest, is that like a 20-minute nap? Because some elves sleep for an hour? Or is it like, yeah, I slept for 8 hours. That was a long rest. It's fucking stupid. The darkness of the Drow, the sidebar's been removed. Halfling traits, alignment's been removed. Human traits, alignment. Dragonborn, alignment. Gnome, alignment. They're evil. That's all there is to it. Half-elf traits, alignment. Half-orc traits, drown in a bucket, alignment. Tiefling traits, alignment. Infernal Legacy, once per day, has been changed to after a good nap. Bard, magical secrets. This is the first and third paragraphs. Any class is now any class says. Fucking stupid. Spell slots. In the first sentence, your spells is now your bard spells. Well, if they're a bard, it's in the bard section. I think bard would be implied in between these two words. And this is how that conversation goes. Player. But it doesn't say your bard spells. DM. It does in my head, and that's all that matters because I'm running the fucking game. You don't like it? You know where the door is. Elves could be concubines. That's all they're good for. Oh, they are sexy. Elves better than everything else. Fight me. Elves are pretty awesome in the game. When my players decide to kill a bad guy in the middle of the city street, the city guards attack them. Got to screw with them to show there's consequences. Exactly. Bunch of elf-hating racists, and I feel personally attacked. Elves killed my PC's father, so I'm allowed to be racist. Should not worry about nappy poos for at least another 40 years, Jack. Well, I'm getting on in the years, and I need more naps these days, so maybe I can cast more than once a day. Song of Rest. The second sentence has been changed to, if you or any friendly creatures who can hear your performance regain hit points at the end of the short rest by spending one or more hit dice, each of those creatures regains an extra d6 hit points. Prepare clerics. Your spells is now your cleric spells, as opposed to those secret wizard spells you're stashing away when you suddenly go multi-class. New bonus cantrip. The following sentence has been added This cantrip doesn't count against the number of cleric cantrips you know. Alkalite of Nature, the following new sentence has been added. This cantrip counts as a cleric cantrip for you, but it doesn't count against the number of cleric cantrips you know. Avatar of Battle, non-magical weapons has been changed to non-magical attacks. Druid, preparing and casting spells. First sentence of your spells, now your Druid spells. New, bonus cantrip. This cantrip doesn't count. Why are they giving more bonus spells? Like, there's not enough magic in D&D. Not everybody needs fucking bonus spells. This takes all the challenge out of it. Feigning attack. This is fighters. The second sentence now reads, you have the advantage on your next attack roll against that creature this turn. Spell slots. In your first sentence, your spells is now your wizard spells. Why is that under fighter? What? It's not your fighter spells? Spells known first level and higher. The final sentence now ends as follows. Unless you're replacing that spell you gained at 3rd, 8th, 14th, or 20th level from any school magic. Monk, deflect missiles. The first sentence now ends as follows. Regardless of your weapon proficiencies, the missile counts as a monk attack for the weapon. You know who could have used deflect missiles? Captain America. Then he wouldn't have been frozen in ice for 60 years. That's a comic book joke. Wonder if Drow are still a matriarchy. Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. Laura killed her father, she would be bummed a bit. Elver roots. Is Eldritch Blast, right? Let's see here. First sentence of nearby has been changed to within 30 feet of you. Okay, that specifies that. Eternal Mountain Defense, 11th level required, has been changed to 17th level required. That's a hell of a jump. Water Whip, a bonus action, has been changed to an action. So they penalize you on that one. Paladin, preparing and spellcasting is the first instance is now your spell. Your Paladin spells. Divine Smite, Paladin spell slot has been changed to spell slot. So you can stuff it in other people's spell slots, apparently. The following text has been amended with the last sentence to a maximum of 68. Improved Divine Smite. The last sentence has been deleted. Oh. I guess maybe there was something about trucks apiece. Rangers, spell slots has been changed to your Ranger spells. Ranger Companion. Following sentence has been added to the end of the first paragraph. Like any creature, the beast can spend hit dice during a short rest. Okay. Generally, you don't start a sentence with like. It's fine in this sentence. It just looks weird. A new third paragraph has been inserted. If you are incapacitated or absent, the beast acts on its own, focusing on protecting you and itself. The beast never requires your command to use its reaction, such as making an opportunity attack. In the second sentence of the second paragraph, the phrase that begins with, though it doesn't take, has been deleted. I should probably grab a player's handbook and look at this, but it's in the other room and I'm lazy. Exceptional training dodges. Do you want me to grab a player's handbook and point out what's been removed on some of these? Because I'll do it just for you guys. It involved me walking about 30 feet, so I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not big on it. You know, who could use deflect missiles? Israel. Yeah, they don't have a defensive Iron Dome. They just have a bunch of monks out there karate kicking all the missiles away. And your spells, no spells, blah, blah, blah. Where's all the fun new shit that's going to piss me off? Oh, okay, here we go. Warlocks. Ray of Sickness has been changed to Charm Person. Really? You went from Ray of Sickness to Charm Person? That's fucking dumb. That's so disappointing. Warlocks were cool that way. Oh, okay. Up here in let's look at these a little closer. What? 30 feet is kind of far. I know, right? Some of these are just fucking dumb. Hang on, I'm gonna grab a player's handbook real quick. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna mute myself. All right, sorry about that. I didn't think there'd be this many changes to these. I only glanced at these earlier. All right, so let's see here. Dodge has been deleted. Another sentence has been added. In addition to the beast attacks now count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. That's a little powerful. Bestial Fury section has been changed to starting at 11th level. When you command your beast companion to take attack section, the beast can now make 2 attacks, or it can take the multi-attack action as its action. That's page 93. All right, we're getting into the weeds now, so I apologize to all the people that don't really care about this. Okay, Bestial Fury used to read, starting at 11th level, when you command your beast companion to take the attack action, the beast can make 2 attacks, or it can take the multi-attack action if it has that action. It looks basically the same. Oh, okay, so that's a fairly minor change. That's almost pointless. All right, let's look at the rogues, or the rouges, as the kids would say. So on page 98 is now your spells. Spells known at first level or and higher. The final sentence of this subsection, the closing phrase, changed to read as follows. Unless you're replacing the spell gained at 3rd, 8th, 14th, that's normal shit. Sorcerer. Let's jump over to the sorcerers. The first sentence of your spells, your sorcerer spells, stupid change. Flexible casting. The section now ends with the sentence, any spell slot you create with this feature vanishes when you finish a long rest. What did it say before? Yeah, that's innocuous. Twin spells, a new paragraph appears at the end of this subsection. To be eligible, a spell must be incapable of targeting more than one creature at the spell's current level. For example, Magic Missile and Scorching Ray aren't eligible, but Ray of Frost and Chromatic Orb are. Okay. First sentence, a Draconic Ancestry, you can add your Charisma modifier to the damage roll of the spell. Never understood the point of that. Wild Magic Surge, starting the second sentence, the section... Oh. Wild Magic, eh? Starting with the second sentence, the section now reads... All right, well, let's read the first original sentence. You may have endured exposure to raw magic, perhaps through a planar portal leading to Limbo, the eternal planes of the far realm. Perhaps you were blessed by a fey being or marked by a demon, or your magic could be a fluke of your birth with no apparent cause. However it came to be, this magic churns within you waiting for an outlet. That's what the original paragraph said. Now it says, once per turn... Oh, my bad. I read the wrong paragraph. Wild Magic Surge, once per turn, the DM can have you roll d20 immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher. If you roll 1 on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a magical effect. If the effect is a spell, it is too wild to be affected by your meta magic, and if normally requires concentration, it doesn't require concentration in this case. The spell lasts for its full duration. Now reads, once per turn, the DM can have you roll d20 immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher. If you roll 1, roll on the Wild Surge table to create a magical effect. If that effect is a spell, it's too wild to be affected by your meta magic, and it requires concentration. It doesn't require concentration. In this case, the spell lasts for its full duration. That's a very minor change. All right, the quick build on 106 for Warlocks. Third, choose the Eldritch Blast, Chill Touch cantrips, along with the first level spells Charm Person and Witch Bolt. I don't even see this on my copy. I have an older one too. See, mine's the first printing from 2014. Ray of Sickness has been changed to Charm Person. Ray of Sickness isn't in here. Maybe they meant that backwards. Let me guess, the rogues are all good people, can't steal anymore. They're just stealing bread. Everything they have is identified as bread until they get it home. Let's see. Spell slots. The following text has been amended to the first sentence. To cast Warlock spells of 1st through 5th level. What? Yeah, they changed the set. This is another minor change. This isn't even worth. Some of these aren't even worth changing. 1st through 5th level. Thunderwave's been changed to Witch Bolt. Yeah, they cast the first level. So they changed the example. Okay, so what they're changing here, this is spell slots, page 107. So, for example, you're a 5th level and you have 2 3rd level spell slots. To cast a 1st level spell, Thunderwave, you must spend one of those slots and cast it at 3rd level as a 3rd level spell. They just changed the name of the spell in the example from Thunderwave to Witch Bolt. Who fucking cares? What a you're looking for busy work. Pact of the Chain, the final sentence now ends as follows. All right. Pact of the Chain. The original sentence says, additionally, when you take your attack action, you can forego one of your own attacks to allow your familiar to make one attack of its own with its reaction. Now reads, the final sentence now reads, make one attack with its reaction. Which is what it reads. It already says this. Pact of the Tome. That's on the next page. Let's see where they're starting with the second sentence. It reads, when you gain this feature, choose 3 cantrips from any class's spell list. The 3 need to be from the same list. While the book is on your person, you can cast those cantrips at will. They don't count against your number of cantrips known. If they don't appear on the Warlock spell list, they are nonetheless Warlock spells for you. If you lose your Book of Shadows, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to receive a replacement from your patron. This ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous book. The book turns to ash when you die. And they changed that to, when you gain this feature, choose 3 cantrips from any class's spell list. The 3 need to be the same from the same list. While the book is on your person, you can cast those cantrips at will. They don't count against your number of cantrips known. If they don't appear on the Warlock spell list, they're nonetheless Warlock spell lists for you. That's basically the same thing. Eldritch Invocation, following sentence has been added to the end of the paragraph. A level prerequisite refers to your level. Okay, this is dumb. Your spells. I'm sorry if this is boring you, but I find it fascinating because some of these are dumb changes that make no difference. Yeah, they're largely changing flavor text. You're not wrong, Dark. And they're very innocuous changes or minor stuff. The damage roll has been changed to 1 damage roll. Yeah, the damage roll implies it's singular. Do the players not know English anymore? Yeah, Thunderwave does sound way cooler than Witch Bolt. Book of Shadows? No, Book of Shadows are traditionally seen as the they're grimoires for female witches. In more modern lexicon, the modern New Age movement has made them more universal, but it was basically just a woman's grimoire. It just needed to fill a quota. It wouldn't surprise me if this was some asshole's attempt to keep his job. When you cast wizard spell, 1st or 5th level that deals damage, you can deal maximum damage with that spell. Yeah. Character details, alignment, description for each alignment. The final sentence has been replaced as shown below. All right, let's look at these. This might be slightly more interesting. All right. So, these are only a couple sentences to begin with. All right, lawful good. All right. The current sentence, it's been replaced. It says the final sentence. These are all almost 2 sentences long. So, lawful good, it says lawful good creatures can be counted to do the right thing as expected by society. Gold dragons, paladins, and most dwarves are lawful good. Now it says gold dragons and paladins are typically lawful good. Okay. Most celestials are neutral good, or many celestials, as opposed to many celestials, some cloud giants, and most gnomes are neutral good. They just took out the other races. Chaotic good says copper dragons, many elves, and unicorns are chaotic good, and that's been changed to copper dragons and unicorns are typically chaotic good. They got rid of the player character class. Lawful neutral. Many monks and some wizards are lawful neutral. And that now reads Modruns and many wizards and monks are lawful neutral. For true neutral, lizard folk, most druids, and many humans are neutral. Druids are traditionally neutral, as are typical townsfolk. So fuck those lizard folk. They're not neutral anymore. Chaotic neutral. Many barbarians and rogues and some bards are chaotic neutral. Many rogues and bards are chaotic neutral. So it's many, and they got rid of the barbarians. I feel like they're alienating the more beautiful and noble savage barbarians. Lawful evil. Devils, blue dragons, and hobgoblins are lawful evil. Now reads devils and blue dragons are typically lawful evil. Neutral evil. Many drow, some cloud giants, and Yugoloths are neutral evil. Now it's just Yugoloths are usually neutral evil. Chaotic evil. Demons, red dragons, and orcs are chaotic evil. Now it's just demons and red dragons are chaotic evil. Typically chaotic evil. New alignment in the multiverse. All right. The first 3 paragraphs have been replaced. All right. I'll read you the first 3 paragraphs and see what they've changed. All right. For many thinking creatures, alignment is a moral choice. Humans, dwarves, elves, and other humanoid races can choose whether to follow the path of good or evil, law or chaos. According to myth, the good aligned gods who created these races gave them free will to choose their moral paths, knowing that good without free will is slavery. The evil deities who created other races, though, made those races to serve them. Those races have strong inborn tendencies that match the nature of their gods. Most orcs share violent, savage nature of the orc god Grumsh, and thus are inclined toward evil. Even if an orc chooses a good alignment and struggles against its innate tendencies for its entire life, that sounds like role-playing. Even hack orcs feel the lingering pull of the orc god's influence. Alignment is an essential part of the nature of celestials and fiends. The devil does not choose to be lawful evil, and it doesn't tend toward lawful evil, but is rather lawful evil in its essence. If it somehow ceased to be lawful evil, it would cease to be a devil. Because those are created creatures by the gods. And it now reads, for many thinking creatures, alignment is a moral choice. Humans, dwarves, elves, and other people can choose whether to follow the path of good or evil, law or chaos. According to myth, the gods who created these folk gave them free will to choose their moral path. That is a significant change. Alignment is an essential part of the nature of celestials and fiends. Both type of creatures are associated with metaphysical planes of existence. Similarly, the outer planes that embodies certain alignments. For example, most devils hail from the nine hells, a plane of lawful evil. The devil does not choose to be lawful evil or tend toward lawful evil, but rather it is lawful evil in its essence. If it somehow ceases to be lawful evil, it changes into something new, a transformation worthy of legend. That's a significant change. Oh, they're not inherently evil. They're just their society, man. It's fucking stupid. The changes that are made are legitimately stupid. Sounds like character development. Yeah, that sounds like a quest of types. It's just the orc to evil pipeline. You're not wrong, Frosted. All right, then we got some minor changes, it looks like. Two-handed weapons. I don't care. Alerts. Other creatures don't gain advantage on attack rolls against you as a result of being unseen by you. Okay, you're paying attention. Climbing doesn't cost you extra movement. It should, because your climbing is a lot harder than walking. Even for athletes. Usually the modifiers were just lower than what they would be if you weren't skilled at that. The word loaded has been removed from the third benefit. What? 165. Let's look at that. Curious to know what that's all about. All right, crossbow expert. All right, the word loaded has been removed from the third benefit. Third benefit is when you use an attack action and attack with one-handed weapon, you can use a bonus action to attack with the hand crossbow you are holding. The word loaded isn't in there. Yeah, the word loading is only used once in that entire section. It's not even mentioned on that in that section, so I don't know what they're talking about. I have a 2014 printing, so unless they've changed it since then to something else and they're changing it back, that's not even appropriate. I'm on the right page. Heavy Armor Master. Non-magical weapons is now non-magical attacks. I don't know why these changes are so innocuous. Ability scores. Reroll or replace. I'm sorry, I'm just reading some of this for the first time, so just bear with me. If you're bored, I get it. But again, I find this stuff very interesting because some of these changes are stupid. Hiding, page 177. Let's take a look at that. All right, where's hiding? Stealth. Using ability scores. Hiding isn't on this page, is it? Oh, hiding. This is in a sidebar. All right, the following sentence has been added to the beginning of the section. The DM decides when circumstances are appropriate for hiding. Really? Because if there's monsters in the room, seems like an appropriate time to hide, but the DM may differ because he wants to have the orcs beat you to death. The first sentence of the second paragraph starts, you can't hide from a creature that can see you clearly and blah. You can't hide from a creature that you can see clearly, and you give away your position if you make noise, such as shouting a warning or knocking over a vase. Has now been changed to, you can't hide from a creature that can see you clearly. It's the same sentence. It's the same thing. What are they talking about? Some of these aren't. Were they going off of some other copy of this? Because, like I said, this one said 2014. I just bought this back around that time. Okay, this is the first printing of August 2014. This printing includes corrections to the first printing. So some of these might be changes that they made early on. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So it looks like they already made some of these changes. Specify the crossbow to be loaded to fire. Now it's changed because it's loaded. It's a gun term, probably. Fuck off! I have magic that says I can, right? No, Bubba Hotep. I think what they did was some of these were changes that had already been made, and they just expanded the erratas. So some of these changes were made after the first printing of the books. So my copy is probably a second printing or a third printing, and some of these changes were already made. But some of them are different too, so I don't know. All right, clone. And the component says hold a medium creature is now hold the creature being cloned. Yeah, you got to hug them. In the description's first sentence, a living medium creature is now a living creature. In the description's second sentence, a sealed vessel is now the vessel used in the spell casting. That's pretty trivial. When the familiar drops to 0 hit points, disappears, leaving behind no physical form. Reappears. Okay, I don't care. All right, I think we're pretty well done with this one. Yeah, they changed some attacks bonuses. Mordecai's Magnificent Mansion. Any creature inside is now any creature or objects left inside. That's actually a good change because that one was always a little bit of a contentious point, which is why I never let them use that. Storm King's Thunder errata. I put my player's handbook to the side now. This document corrects and clarifies blah, blah, blah. Tower of Zephyros. In the third paragraph after the box text, recover from the madness has been changed to recover from the insanity. Okay, that's dumb. In the sixth paragraph after the box text, the second bullet has been changed to he has an intelligence score of 18 plus 4 and the spellcasting action option described below. Zephyros' spellcasting trait has been replaced with the following action option. Zephyros cast one of the following spells requiring no material components. Looks like they just changed the spell allotment. Protection from energy, tongues, greater visibility, cone of cold, levitate, magic missile, gust of wind. Those are pretty weak ass. Throughout the section, pixie dust has been changed to fairy dust. Yeah, they probably got in trouble with Disney over the pixie dust. But or they just hate pixies. You're just a generic fairy now. Throughout the section, pixie dust has been changed to fairy dust. Also here, that makes sense. I think fairy dust is more appropriate. Insert your own joke here. Oh, we are at that point again already, where it's time for me to shill like a shameless whore. If you would like to support the show, you can toss some change at me at the link there and pin it at the top of your chat and in the description. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Pixie dust has been changed to angel dust. That would improve the game, I think. My general attitude of all this is who the fuck cares? Because some of this stuff is actually I think what they're doing is making minor errata changes and then sneaking in some of the getting rid of alignment stuff because all cultures are beautiful. And now what's sad is a lot of the fucking weirdos that play this game don't have imagination. They're playing it because it's hipster cool and they want to be cool kids. They're not playing it because they're actually having fun. They're playing it because it's activism at the table and they can feel good about themselves. So they want it to be inclusive, and it's hurting regular players because it's really diminishing the lore of the game, and it's watering it down. So I think mostly it's just a slap in the face of more of the old-time gamers. All right, they replaced a bunch more text here. This is just background stuff. Silver Marches, yeah. I have a module like that, I think. Barbarians row is now tabled called Uthgrad Marauders. The corresponding Barbarians random encounter is now called Marauders, and has moved the end of the wilderness encounter. You gotta get rid of the word barbarian because that's mean. Now they're Marauders, which is much darker. Orcs, first paragraph of this random encounter has been replaced with the characters come across 2d6 plus 2 orcs. There's a 75% chance the orcs are friendly and looking for a suitable place to build a homestead. Otherwise, the orcs are hostile and have prisoners in tow. A sample group of prisoners is presented here, but you can create others. So making these possibly friendly orcs, I guess. Flint Rock, the parenthetical references the whatever Uthgard section. Clothrin, the sixth paragraph's been changed. Is an ancient red dragon with the dual wand wielder trait, special equipment trait. That sounds actually kind of cool. Crypt Garden, last paragraph of the section, and the innate spellcasting trait has been replaced with the following. Something is an ancient green dragon with the following additional actions. This is why I always named my dragons like Dave and Steve or Fred, because I don't want to come up with these fucking names I can't pronounce. I just changed the spell allotment, it looks like. The first sentence parenthetical reference now references the Uthgard. It's probably taking more of the word barbarian out. Horde of the Dragon Queen appendix heading is now Tyranny of Dragons. The first 3 paragraphs of this section have been replaced with the following. Tyranny of Dragons deals with the rise of dragons and their attempt to free Tiamat from the 9 hells. If you use Tyranny of Dragons as a springboard into this adventure, you must change the timing events so that Tyranny of Dragons story and events that precipitate Storm's King Thunder happen concurrently, with Anam the Allfather breaking the ordning to stir the giants before Tiamat is brought into the world. Early in the Tyranny of Dragons, the characters join a caravan traveling from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep. By the time they reach Waterdeep, they should be 5th level. You can use the party's arrival in Waterdeep to shift attention away from Tyranny of Dragons story by dropping reports of giant sightings near the temple farms of Golden Fields. The Emerald Enclave is looking for adventurers. This is just to help dummies figure out how timelines work. Yeah, this stuff looks like it's just flavor text changes too. All right, Sword Coast Adventures Guide. Several adjustments have been made to the Radiant Sunbolt feature. For clarification, the feature's reprinted at these adjustments here. So they just redid the entire thing. Okay. Half-elf variants in the second sentence, the elf trait, keen senses, has been removed. The elf trait, keen senses. The elves no longer have keen senses, I guess. Several adjustments have been made to the Racacia Audacity feature, so they reprinted that whole thing. You've got something called Booming Blade they redid, and Green Flame Blade. So yeah, get ready for more changes. This actually would annoy me if I already owned these books. Like, I own the Player's Handbook, big deal. But Sword Coast Adventures Guide's like a $40 book, 30, 40, something like that. And some of these like changes to spells and stuff like that would irritate the shit out of me, because then you got to constantly reference everything. This thing, I actually love the game mostly homebrewed at this point. Yeah, homebrew your games. H has been changed to Biden-esque. Yeah, you're not wrong. So, all right, let's jump at this other one. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. The typical character race in D&D has been replaced with a D&D race that has the ability score increase trait. Oh, okay. In the next sentence, your character's race has been replaced with your character's race if it includes the ability score increase trait. Maybe you should have caught some of these before you included them in the book. Your character's race has been replaced with if your character's race has the language trait, that trait includes. I think that'd be implied by the section called languages, though. Are people just not able to understand inference anymore? After purify food and drink, ritual has been added. The word ritual was added. Well, it's ritual, so of course, okay. People are just dumb, I guess. Priest was changed to healer. I guess they didn't want the association with kid diddlers or something. Your druid spells has been changed to your spells. Well, we saw in the other book where the reverse was the way it was done. They changed the requirement from above third to above fourth for construct spirit. Disarming strike is now disarming attack. I guess it was too violent sounding. The feats entry piercer has been added before sharpshooter. The feats entry weapon master has been cut, and martial adept has been added before observant. Weapons master was cut, and martial adept has been added to savage attacker. Piercer was added before polearm master in the feat section. Until you die has changed to while you're alive. Okay, that's so pointless. All right, Tales from the Yawning Portal has the fewest changes. There's an Adamite door. The last sentence has been changed to there's no way of opening it from the east side. Oh, that's good to know. Light crossbow is now short bow in the attack description. Short bow and light crossbows are very different things. Spellcasting trait, the cantrips now have no asterisks. They probably forgot to put a footnote in, so they just eliminated it. And the sculpt spells trait forces other creatures it can see is now forces other creatures it can see to make a saving throw. Okay, they just fixed an error there. The map art's been updated to be more readable. That's helpful. Good job, dumbasses. Treasure section in the 8th bullet point is the ring of resistance fire is now a ring of protection. That again, that's who cares? That's so trivial. It's in the treasure section. You switched out ring of resistance fire for ring of protection. Why? Who cares? All right, Tomb of Annihilation. Mad Monkey Fever. The heading is now Blue Mist Fever. And throughout the section, Mad Monkey Fever has been changed to Blue Mist Fever. Mad Monkey Fever sounded way cooler. And it also, to be fair, from a branding perspective, Blue Mist Fever sounds like something you'd catch in Chile. Mad Monkey Fever sounds like something you'd catch on an exotic land in a fantasy setting where wizards can help you. So that's really stupid. The second paragraph has been replaced with the following text. A giant or humanoid that comes into contact with the mist must succeed on a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or become infected with the blue mist fever. An infected creature begins seeing vivid hallucinations of blue monkeys 1d6 hours after failing the save, and the hallucinations last until the disease ends on the creature. Creature can repeat the saving throw every 24 hours, ending the effect on itself on a success. So Mad Monkey Fever, where you see blue monkeys, has been changed to Blue Mist Fever. You're not seeing blue mist, you're seeing blue monkeys. Why not call it Blue Monkey Fever? That would have made more sense. That's much more literal. Mad Monkey Fever means you're going mad and you see monkeys under your delirium, which would be a fever. That's dumb. Oh, we can't say monkey. Command temp, page 48, in the second paragraph, third sentence, Mad Monkey Fever was changed to Blue Mist Fever. In Carvoke's plan subsection, the last two sentences have been removed, probably talking about Blue Monkey Fever. In the first paragraph after the box text, the second sentence, Mad Monkey Fever was changed to Blue Mist Fever. Ruined Interior. In the third row, the first column now 51 through 60. On the second column is Blue Mist, and roll again. In the fourth row, the first column is now 61 through 65. And second column is Collapsing Floor, and roll again. Mad Monkey Mist on page 95. The heading is now Blue Mist. In the second sentence, Mad Monkey Fever has been changed to Blue Mist Fever. Chapter 4, the second bullet, Succumb to Form of Madness, has been replaced with is suffering the effects of Blue Mist Fever. And throw stones at illusionary blue monkeys only he can see. I don't know what they have against primates at Wizards of the Coast, but it's very upsetting. Chapter 5, Wailing Winds, the second paragraph. Succeed on a DC 20 wisdom save throw or gain immune to this madness has been changed to make a DC 20 wisdom saving throw. Taking 16 3d10 psychic damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. Earth Cell, in the first paragraph of Trap, subsection, DC 15 dexterity check has been replaced with DC 15 dex saving throw. Well, the checks are generally known as saving throws, right? If you say, hey, make a dex check, you're making a dex roll, so whatever. Check has been replaced with save. Wilderness Encounter, the Mad Monkey Mist entry is now Magic Mist. Well, shouldn't it be Blue Mist Fever? Mad Monkey Mist, this heading is, yeah. Yalcha, in the third sentence, Mad Monkey Fever is now Blue Mist Fever. Handout number 9, the second paragraph, third sentence, Mad Monkey Fever is now known as Blue Mist Fever. Almost everything in Tomb of Annihilation is about this Mad Monkey Fever. That's fucking dumb. Volo's Guide to Monsters. Alignment trait, alignment trait, alignment trait, alignment trait. All that stuff's been removed. Monster lore. The third paragraph's been replaced with the following. The lore of this chapter represents the perspective of Volo and is mostly limited to Forgotten Realms. In the realms and elsewhere in the D&D multiverse, reality is more varied than the idiosyncratic views presented here. DM, use the material that inspires you and leave the rest. That's every fucking game book. Role-playing the Beholder. The 3 paragraphs before the tables have been replaced with the following. When role-playing a Beholder, the following table contains possible inspiration. This suggests characteristics a Beholder might possess. So fucking PC. Paying the price section has been removed. Role-playing gnolls and cultists of whatever. 2 paragraphs before the tables have been replaced with when role-playing a cultist or gnoll, the following tables contain possible inspirations. Role-playing a kobold section has been removed. You're not allowed to do that anymore, I guess. Role-playing a mind flayer. Paragraph before the table has been replaced with the same drivel we just looked at. Orcs as underlings, the sidebar has been removed. Role-playing an orc, the 2 paragraphs before the tables have been replaced with that same disclaimer thing. They might possess this. Half-orcs, the section was removed. There's a lot of minimization of kobolds and half-orcs. Role-playing a Yuan-Ti for same thing. They removed a bunch of flavor text and added that disclaimer thing. Cannibalism sacrifice, sidebar removed. Alignment trait, alignment trait. More alignments. Kobold trait, alignment's been removed. Orc traits, same thing. Menacing traits been replaced with the following: primal intuition for orcs. You have the proficiency in 2 of the following skills of your choice: animal handling, insight, intimidation, medicine, nature, perception, and survival. They're turning orcs into some kind of noble savage nonsense. This is fucking dumb. Oh, he went live right after. Nice. All right. Cobalt Scale Sorcerer. These are fucking stupid. Alignment trait's been removed. This is dumb. This is all dumb shit. It's a bunch of minor changes, some of which they've already done. Yeah, fuck these guys. This is just watering everything down more and more. Can't you say they were whitewashing D&D? In a way they are. They're taking the personality away from creatures. Blue Mist Fever sounds like something you get from drinking too much Mountain Dew Baja Blast. You're not wrong. That's very true. Yeah, I think you're right, Louis. This is just watering stuff down. I'm sorry to bore you guys with the errata, but I think it's important because everybody's talking about it, but nobody's actually telling you what it says. And it's largely a bunch of innocuous crap with some stuff that really waters down the creatures in the game. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to look at. I hadn't read some of the errata or the articles, and I wanted to go over them and see what was in it. Yeah, TOS, I'm with you on that. It's interesting stuff. It really is, because the mentality is very bizarre. They took out Mad Monkey Fever and replaced it with Blue Mist Fever. That's so clinical and boring. It doesn't have that sense of a high adventure or swashbuckling nature that you would expect from a role-playing game. And I think that really, really hurts the game. And it hurts their brand quite a bit, because D&D used to have all sorts of really unique things about it. You know, like the weird names and the silly stuff really kind of gave it a flair and personality that is lacking from a lot of other games. And now they're just like generic role-play game. And it really makes it boring. So, yeah, thank you all for sticking with me through this. I really wanted to go through this stuff and mainly complain. Not going to lie, it was all just a complaint. But that's all I really had. It was just kind of a themed show. I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't expect it to take this long. But I really got into the weeds on the errata. And quite frankly, I can see why people are upset, because some of this stuff is just dumb. Stupid changes for PC woke points, and that's it. If it's something you enjoy, it must be pooed on. Yeah, they hate fun. They change the kind of things that when you complain, they say, what's the big deal? Yeah, exactly, because they don't care about it. They have no emotional or long-term investment in anything. A lot of these people, you'll notice, jump from hobby to hobby and place to place, fandoms, that sort of thing. They don't have any real attachment to anything. So they have no sense of longevity or nostalgia for it. It's all superficial to them. So they really don't see the point in it. Yeah, I feel bad for the original guys that played, and like their kids that grew up with this stuff and watching their parents and grandparents' legacies get shit all over, because that's what they're doing. They're destroying a legacy of fun and entertainment. And I'm sick of it. So I don't think I'm going to get 6th edition books. And hopefully TSR wins their lawsuit so that they can go ahead and make D&D great again. Or at least a similar game that will be more old school and fun. So if you want to support TSR in their quest, the link is in the description. I'm not telling you what to do, but if you choose to do so, there you go. There's the link for it. I had fun listening while at work. Also, Monkey went live. Cool. All right, I'm probably going to jump over to Monkey's stream. But thank you all for coming out. Thanks for all the support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for the donations. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. You guys have a great night or day, depending where you are.